Liam, how do I work this? Alright, so... Right. Ah, there we go. Right. Hi, Kevin. So, I know you kicked out the rapper guy from your group, and I know you don't want him affiliated with the band anymore, so I thought I would, because I'm a good graphic designer, I thought I would make some new ones. So here's your saturation one, pretty amateurish, but you know. Then there's two. See, this guy looks nothing like Amir did, so you can get away with that. Obviously, very sad guy there, but you know what it's like. And then I know you're doing a new album, and I thought I would give it my own little go here. Pretty abstract looking, excuse the pun, obviously. But yeah. So yeah, I hope you like it, and I'm looking forward to hearing the album. I hope you channel some Machine Gun Kelly on it. 'Cause he's saving the game right now. So I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon. Hello and welcome, I'm Liam the Music Reviewer, and it's getting pretty exciting, guys. A new Brockhampton album's finally here, Iridescence, the 4th studio album and their first record, both since signing to RCA, as well as the sexual misconduct allegations that came about Amir Van, who since got kicked out of the group. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to be covering this. It's no surprise that I do like Brockhampton a fair deal. Covered them multiple times on the channel. Sadly, wasn't about during 2017 to review each record in the Saturation trilogy, though I think I'm kind of with the general consensus of them all being pretty good records. Everyone's rankings are obviously different, but they were critically and commercially successful. They've really just blew the fuck up. Like, I can't really recall an artist really blown up to in such a short space of time, especially managing to both keep like the kind of like their critical darling title, as well as just being like very viable. But yeah, if we're talking about everything that came out kind of like prior to this record, there was 3 main singles that was going to be coming. They were rumoured to be singles of another upcoming album. There was Truman, Diana and Wildfire. And in general, how I felt about those singles were I wasn't too sure about them. I was actually pretty worried about what was going to become of just Brockhampton in general, and I'm not sure if everyone else was as worried as I was. That being said, I was a fan of Truman. It felt very kind of like eccentric and really hyped up. I was a fan of it, but it did feel like with those songs, they weren't really sure what the group dynamic was going to be, I think would be the right way to kind of phrase that. They were really trying to push Bareface in all of those songs, who often just kind of does like the finale tracks and sings very well. He's got a lovely voice, but it seemed like they were really wanting to try and like kind of like fill in the blank sort of thing. But they really should have kind of like, I think they probably should have like left it a wee bit. And it seemed like this kind of album came about quite spontaneously anyway, after the Europe tour, where they came over to London and recorded at Abbey Road for a little bit, then went back over to America to record in their studio in Hawaii. So yeah, this one's felt quite, I don't want to say rushed, but like it's kind of came about quite quickly. Again, it's not really unusual for Brockhampton to do that anyway, considering they dropped 3 albums in the 1 year. But I think everyone's quite interested to see, 1, how they would deal with losing one of the member, 2, how they would discuss this, because the friendship and again just the general group dynamic is very strong. There's no qualms about being too expressionate and that. Like they're very close people. They're like brothers essentially. So obviously what had happened and what had came out about Amir must have hit very close to home. So 1 was how they deal with that departure. 2, how would they process that in their music, and 3, also just in general, like they'd said that this was going to be the start of a new trilogy. So what was this new trilogy going to sound like? How different was it going to really be? Was it just kind of a case of saying it was a new trilogy without actually doing much to merit it? Well, yeah, let's answer that question. Is Iridescence, 4th studio album by Brockhampton, any good? I don't want to fall into like a common cliche of just album reviews in general, where they notice the title of the album and they go, oh, this is the Oxford Dictionary definition of this, but I do think it's rather apt that they went for this the name of iridescence due to kind of like the titular ties to the Greek god Iris. I'm assuming that's the Greek god anyway off the top of my head, who was the Greek god of rebirth. And like I say, this iridescence has been heralded as a new chapter of Brockhampton, and I feel for me this is it's, I mean, I don't know if I would say it's much thematically different. I'm not really sure if I'd go as far as saying that, but it definitely feels like that sort of album that comes out after an artist has like really blew up. It happens in hip hop a lot. There's kind of like, I don't know if there's like a name for it, but it's like the kind of like the post blow up record where an artist will kind of like lament on it, kind of like think about all the hard shits they've been through. It's a pretty kind of cliched territory lyrically, but the kind of main examples are probably like, well, both Graduation and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which I wouldn't be surprised if Brockhampton looked at as inspiration, considering how big a fan of Kanye that they are. But I can't really draw much comparisons between this being like a My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy sort of record, because on the one hand, it's a lot harsher. It feels a lot harsher to me than anything that the band have done before. But on the opposite end of that spectrum, it also feels the most fragile. It feels like, totally transparent and just totally delicate. It's there's a great deal. It's not a one note record at all. For that fragility, that delicateness, you don't need to look any further than the song Tonya, which is one of our earliest excerpts of this record that got showed on the Jimmy Fallon show. I had a track review of it, and I was basically saying that when we get a CD quality version of this song, that it could very well be the best song they've ever put out, at least kind of like top 3 contender for best Brockhampton song. And I can comfortably say that now that we have it here in good quality, that I was right. I was fucking right. It starts off with some keys that are pretty reminiscent of the song Pure Imagination, but it kind of feels apt in that way because Tonya absolutely is the most confessional song that the band have ever put out. There's never been any qualms about them like kind of like taking off some layers and like really showing who they are. But here it just feels like we're seeing a side of them that like maybe the members themselves were kind of too scared to even admit. This was kind of like the song that came out like quite immediately after all of the Amir stuff came out, and there's no hesitation to kind of address that. Well, it's never like addressed purely by name or that the emotions that the members went through, especially Kevin. Oh my god, his verse is just full of just resentment and anger and also guilt, because the way that the band went about it was it could have been a lot better. I'm pretty sure the band could admit that themselves. But like just hearing like how torn up he kind of feels, it reeks of being betrayed, and it does give this a very poignant feel. Every member on here just does tremendously. I need to give props to Bareface. While I don't feel like he's really showing off utter versatility, I do think that he's making his way forward into being more than just the singing guy of the group. That being said, though, if you're gonna be a one-trick pony and your singing's gonna be as good as Bareface's is, I really can't. At least their one trick's quite good, but I do think that on this album he's starting to like make some like baby steps towards being more than just the singing guy. So props to him for that. And all the other members on here, especially Merlin, because Merlin's usually kind of like the more hyped up member in that, and still absolutely puts a smile on my face every time that he's on. But on this song, like, he definitely kind of like applies himself in a way that is showing like another kind of like dimension to him, and I think he does it incredibly well. It doesn't feel disingenuous or kind of clanky at all. Just again, a really good job. Serpent with Feet also pops up in this song with guest vocals. If you didn't check out his Soil, please go check that out, because his voice, his delivery, just his general like persona and essence is just breathtaking, to be honest. And he just does a really good job on this song in general. Just a song, in general, is phenomenal. One of the best songs a band have ever put out, and I feel like any band would be utterly envious of them if they would want to be able to put a song out like this. Also need to mention just how Matt Champion is included in this song, because he's hardly used, but like he's used near the end where he goes, "I don't matter," and it's really washed out, which is quite a smart move, because like it kind of like just verifies how inconsequential he probably feels just like about his own kind of self-worth, and it just kind of gives it like a really melancholic moment to finish on. And just this album in general has a lot of moments like that. Like I say, there is moments where it just feels very brash and just kind of maybe not so much visceral, but it feels very like violent in that. But it never forgets like just to show that other side of the coin. And moments like this and tracks like this are just some real highlights, to say the least. There's another highlight that kind of branches off this same twig called San Marcos, which it feels kind of like a Bareface finale track. It's got the same kind of like reverby guitars, and obviously starts off with Bareface kind of just like singing, but it definitely feels a lot more fleshed out, even somehow even more evocative. I'm really surprised this wasn't the song that the album goes out on, because it just feels kind of like anthemic. It kind of avoids any sort of like cliche territory. It even brings in a gospel choir, which the song walks a very thin line of being cliche, because that is kind of an inclusion that gets brought up a lot, but I feel like how it's included is in a very kind of sweet and limited enough way that doesn't feel like it's what the song's like. It doesn't feel like the song's overly reliant on it. I also really love the kind of like the somber mix of guitars and strings on this, and like I just briefly mentioned beforehand, I do not know how that the album doesn't finish on this song, because Fabric, while not a bad song by any means, feels like a bit of an anticlimax. Again, it's not a bad song, but I feel like if it was kind of like included elsewhere in the mix, we could have had this kind of like free song sort of like free song kind of conclusion, where like the album really goes out on a bang. Like Tonya or San Marcos would be a much better sort of ending to it. But again, Fabric's not a bad song. I just thought I would kind of mention it while we're on this note. Another peak of the album here, Wait, which might be my favourite song on the album, so kind of torn between Wait and Tonya, but it just kind of like finds the middle ground between being kind of delicate and frantic. It gets pretty feverish at a point pretty much after the post-chorus, which the song starts off with Kevin Abstract giving out a verse it's probably one of my favourites of the year in general. Really does kind of like describe sort of like confusion with your identity, like when you're kind of like when you're younger and all that. It feels very authentic. It feels just very sad, and can be relatable depending on who you are and all that. But then the song goes on. We get Dom coming in with a phenomenal verse. He was on great form this record. I feel on the other albums he wasn't a bad member at all. He'd usually perform pretty well, but like at certain points and certain songs on this album, he just steals the show. The song just kind of like has this really nice mix of the artificial and the organic. The artificial comes through with just the drums and the voice modulation, but then the organic comes through with just kind of like the orchestral segments. I think this is kind of like a good kind of sort of representation of just how kind of divided and kind of muddled up the members feel on this song, just like with what they're talking about. It just, the song's just kind of dripping genuinity, if that's even a word. It just feels very genuine, I guess I would just say that. But yeah, I do really appreciate how it kind of like things that middle ground. It kind of shows a bit more sort of it feels more like a spectrum than a binary for me, which are the best kind of records that kind of like sort of can show a sort of kind of like a bit more kind of organicness with how they kind of like transition from bit to bit. But of course there are going to be songs here, like I'd obviously kind of alluded to before, that just really pack in just how fun and just all over the place and just generally wild that the band can be, and these are just one of many just really fun moments. There's the song Javert, which packs in just a totally unhinged, all over the place, it just takes all of your attention performance from Joba, who just you keep thinking to yourself like there's no way he's gonna sound even more just kind of like on the edge than he is just now, and he does, and it doesn't feel cheesy to me. It doesn't feel corny. I've saw people say that if you feel that way, you feel that way, but I don't feel that at all. It feels like somebody who's just kind of feeling very desperate, and to me, like kind of showing that sort of unfilteredness was very awe-inspiring for me. There's also kind of the inclusion of some grenadine soca, I think that's how you say it, which gives it some sort of flair. It means that the possibility of Javert ever just being some sort of like really like familiar, shallow dip into some noise rap territory is just totally avoided. I don't think it would have done that without that inclusion, but I do think it kind of makes this kind of song feel a bit more ambitious, not kind of like feeling complacent or just like feeling too comfortable or that. Though, like I say, with that Joba verse, it was gonna give it that kind of that kind of moment that kind of like stays with you and sticks with you by the time that album comes to an end. Honey and Vivid are also worth mentioning. The former packs in an inclusion of Matt Champion's verse from Bump, but it's all kind of like modulated and warped and like, yeah, it feels sort of like a reinvention of sorts where like you get bands that kind of like sample their own music. I'm going to mention Death Grips because when it comes to mind, I'm not going to try and say like Brockhampton are sounding like Death Grips here. I feel like that'd be just kind of off in general, but like this whole method of like taking your old music and sampling it in a way that feels not too gimmicky. Death Grips are the band that come to mind first for me, so don't sue me, it's just what my thing is. I thought that bit was quite nice. And then also with the track Vivid, Dom just kind of impressed me yet again with a bit more of a lot more of a varied kind of upbeat performance, because usually kind of sticks like a similar kind of like delivery and that, but here I found it just a lot of fun. Though I think the thing that I took away from this track the most was Bareface. Again, I've already kind of praised him for like pushing himself a bit more, not just feeling like the singing guy. But yeah, on this track, it feels like he's kind of like, again, just kind of like I can feel like I can kind of like back up what I'm saying about how he feels like he's just pushing himself a bit more, and just every member in general on this track, not on this track, sorry, on this record, just feels like they're doing better. So let's look back at the Saturation trilogy for just like a quick kind of a quick brief about how the first Saturation, for a lot of people, or I say a lot of people, I'm not going to speak for a lot of people, but for me, felt like the Amir show. Along with a bit of Kevin Abstract, and then it got to Saturation 2, which felt like a more Kevin-centric project, probably their strongest one, if you ask me. And then Saturation 3 felt like the most team-centric record. Everyone was really coming into their own, to the point where some members like Amir, who were being a bit more lethargic and a bit more one note, they were starting to bring it down a fair wee bit. A lot of members, especially Matt Champion, just his singing on Rental is phenomenal. Just a lot of members were just showing off just how they were worth more attention, and I feel like with this new record, especially Joba, Merlin and Dom are just kind of showing that, you know what, like, I think a lot of people to see Brockhampton, it's kind of like that's defined by Kevin Abstract, because he's kind of like the allocated head honcho, like he's always kind of like talking, he's all kind of like the face of it. But I genuinely think that the three members that I've just mentioned there deserve so much praise for how well they did, because at certain points, like, I was just kind of thinking to myself, I would love to see these guys like doing their own thing. And it's not like I don't want to see any Brockhampton stuff, definitely not, but it was more kind of like, wow, these are like, I've kind of watched these people go from just members of a boy band to becoming just artists in their own right. Like I said before, Merlin just had me smiling every time he was on the song. Dom just had some really phenomenally strong verses. Honestly, I was really taken aback by some of them, especially when it came to the song Wait. I was just kind of like, I felt kind of like just my heart kind of drop. And then with Joba, just, oh my god, this boy is just all over the place in the best sort of way, just absolutely wild. Just he feels like an artist Sugar Rush, so he does. And yeah, I get, oh man, just how they all come together. That's why people like Saturation 3 a lot, because they obviously came together a lot more. But on here, this feels like where it was a boy band and not just a boy band, where like there was one person who's kind of, one or two people that are kind of making the album feel sort of essential. This one here feels like definitely Brockhampton being Brockhampton. It definitely feels like a new stage to me in that sort of way. While Iridescence is certainly a lot better than I expected it to be, it's certainly not flawless. I do think Berlin, while not as grating or as much of a letdown as it was the first time I listened to the record, I just feel like it doesn't pack in the kind of punch the sort of more brash production would imply it would have. It alludes to that, but it just never feels like it kind of follows up on that. Also, just this record at points can feel a bit scattershot, though. I bring this up because it could be, I think it's worth mentioning, but I'm not really sure if, when I think of other Brockhampton records, I never feel like they were all that kind of structured to begin with, and I'm really not sure if that's really a criticism I can I can direct solely towards Iridescence, because if anything, the fact that the album finishes on these like really like these free, poignant, confessional, just melancholic tracks, even though there's like some one scar, I feel like it finishes on those three. I feel like that's more of a step in the right direction, even if I do think that, yep, still ends a bit of an anticlimax, kind of ruins the buzz for me a little bit, because the album starts off so strong with New Orleans and Thug Life. Love the vocals on Thug Life. I thought they were a bit too kind of like at first, but like, oh my god, man, they're just so catchy and just so sweet. I love them. But yeah, kind of ends a bit of an anticlimax. I do mention that it's kind of scattershot, but I do feel like there was a bit more of a vision and a focus with Iridescence than there ever has been with any other record that the band have put out thus far. But yeah, guys, that's been my thoughts on Brockhampton's Iridescence. I feel a lot more confident about where they're heading now, because when it came to those singles, I just kind of like iffy. But as far as the trilogy started off, I think that's a pretty strong way to go about it. Besides Berlin and a bit of an anticlimax, I don't feel like there's any issues I have with this record. Pretty much every member like impresses me here, even if certain ones aren't as on greatest form as other ones. Everyone kind of has like their own good wee moment at the very least. At the very least, has their own good wee moment. In terms of a score, which is probably what you guys have already skipped to if you're watching this, probably gonna go for a solid 8 at the moment. I'll go for a solid 8. Might come back to this. You'll see when it comes to album of the year video. But yeah, guys, if you've listened to this album, which you probably have if you're watching this, let me know what your favourite songs are, your worst songs are, a score, where this ranks in the Saturation trilogy for you, or amongst the Saturation trilogy. For me, I'd probably put this as their second strongest record. I still think Saturation 2 is a bit stronger, but again, this album's just been growing on me with every listen, which it's pretty exciting. But yeah, thank you for watching. And yeah, just I've not really got much else to say other than that. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and stay hydrated. Wish I could get past that. I can't take a step back. Makes me wish you passed
that. Kid A kind of inspired the mood that we kind of brought to the studio when we first got here, because that's their 4th record and it was a breakaway from what they were known as. And I kind of want this one to be our breakaway from what people know us as. They know